Peace. This is Wise for Wise Words Media, and fight fans, buckle up. It's on. This is one of the biggest fights in boxing today, and the day's finally here. We are going to get an undisputed champion at the lightweight division when Devin the Dream Haney takes on George Kambosos. So, undisputed is a very coveted accomplishment. Only 7 fighters have done it in boxing history, and tonight we will get the 8th one to do it. And when Devin Haney, in his pursuit of greatness, Devin Haney took on a contract that most fighters would not even consider. They would laugh at the contract and the stipulations that were there in the contract. Devin Haney not only had to switch networks. He usually was a DAZN fighter. Now he had to switch networks. He had to go to ESPN and Top Rank just to make this fight happen. He also had to agree to make this fight happen overseas in George Kambosos' hometown, which this fight right here is going to be George Kambosos' first fight in Australia since his upset victory against Teofimo Lopez. So this is a huge fight for not only Kambosos, but for the country of Australia. This is a huge fight. And for Devin Haney, knowing how corrupt boxing can be, he is willing to go overseas to fight against Kambosos, to fight against the referees, to fight against the judges, just like Manny Pacquiao did. Pacquiao did it when he fought Jeff Horn a few years back, and we saw what was the results of that. He went to Australia, he beat Jeff Horn basically, but the decision went to Jeff Horn, who ends up beating Pacquiao when we all saw the fight that Pacquiao really didn't lose that one. But these are the chances you take when you are trying to achieve greatness, and Devin Haney is doing just that. He agreed to all the stipulations, some stringent stipulations that George Kambosos and his team had put out, and he agreed to it. So, not only that, but then the other obstacle here has been when Devin Haney and his team went to Australia, they denied Devin Haney's father, who is his trainer and promoter, Bill Haney. They denied him entrance into Australia. So this also was a setback, you could imagine, for Devin Haney, who would have to overcome being on foreign land without a support system like his father, who was also his trainer. So there's a lot of stuff that Devin Haney has to overcome just to become undisputed. So he's been fighting before he even got into this ring. But I do see Devin Haney taking this. I love Devin Haney. That's one of my favorite fighters today, if not my favorite. It's between him, Shakur, Charlos. Those are my guys right there, man. But, Devin Haney, I call him Future Floyd, because he has a lot of Floyd Mayweather qualities in him. And let's go through some of the keys to the fight tonight. So, if you go back and you watch the George Kambosos and Teofimo Lopez fight, you notice one staggering thing between the two of them. Both Kambosos and Lopez, they both were fighting with their hands down. They both went fighting with their hands down. Now, the hands down, what it does, there's a trade-off. What it does is it allows your hands to be more deceptive offensively, because your hands are lower than the eyes level. So you can just bring the jab up. It's deceptive offensively, which is why George Kambosos caught Teofimo Lopez clean, because it was deceptive. However, the trade-off to that is when you have your hands down, when you're fighting a guy like Devin Haney, who uses his jab often and keeps his hands high and jabs often, your hands are not in a position to react as quick as you would if your hands are at a chin guard or a high guard. If you were in one of these stances, it's easier to pick off the jab or deflect the jab or just straight. But if your hands are low, it's your timing, your reaction timing is much harder, and it's easier for you to get popped with that jab. And Devin Haney has one of the best jabs and the best 1-2s in boxing today. So Devin Haney is a very active fighter. He throws a lot of jabs, throws a lot of right hands, a lot of hooks. So he is a very active fighter. Kambosos is going to have to keep his hands up. That's one of the keys for Kambosos. He's going to have to keep his hands up. Do not use that low guard or that swinging, flailing arms look, because Devin Haney is a very active fighter, and he will catch him cleanly if he continues to keep his hands low like he did in the Lopez fight. In fact, you saw Lopez catch Kambosos in the later rounds because of that simple fact that Kambosos kept his hands down. So Tio caught him cleanly later on in the fight because of that. And I see Haney going to be giving him a nightmare tonight. Haney's going to be a headache because Haney is active, pumps his jab often, right hands often. So footwork, head movement, he's going to have to move around a lot because George comes to fight. That's one thing you got to give credit to George. George is a fighter. He will come forward. He likes to throw a lot of punches. So Haney will have to keep his head moving. Haney sometimes goes to a shoulder guard, kind of puts his hands by his chin and his shoulder. He's going to have to do less of that, more of this, or switch up looks if you're going to do that. So I do see this fight going in Devin Haney's favor. However, if this fight goes to the scorecards, this will be trouble for Devin Haney. This will be a world of trouble for Haney. So Haney must end this fight and keep, or at least at the bare minimum, knock down George Kambosos at least once or twice in this fight. Get a couple knockdowns to at least solidify his position of being up on the scoreboards. Having a couple 10-8 rounds or 10-7 rounds, or, you know, whatever the case may be. He needs some 10-8 rounds where he's up big on the scorecards, because we saw what happened to Pacquiao versus Horn. And when you fight in anybody else's territory, these are the type of things that happen in boxing, you know. So, fight fans, enjoy this mega fight, historic fight. And after the fight, I'll be back with a post-fight analysis. And once again, I see Haney winning. I see him winning either in like the 8th, 9th round, 10th round, or by decision. So enjoy the fight fans. We'll pick it up later. Peace.